The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.
All right, we are going to go ahead and get started now. I'm Amber Smithson, Certified OPTAVIA Coach, and I want to welcome you to the Habits of Health. And we love this because it is so inclusive of so many different people. You may be a client of OPTAVIA, you may be an OPTAVIA coach or one of our health professionals, or maybe you're just checking us out and you're saying, what is this OPTAVIA program all about? So whoever you are, we are so glad that you are joining us. You might be joining us live on Zoom that we do on Wednesday nights, or possibly you're listening back on our YouTube channel or our podcast. So no matter how you're joining us, we're really glad that you're taking some time to improve your mindset towards health. Now, another thing is we talk about a lot of different concepts on these Habits of Health calls. And you may be in a weight loss phase right now. You may be in transition. You may be optimizing your health for the long term. No matter what stage you're in, we might be talking about all or across the board of these stages. So make sure that you're connecting back to your OPTAVIA coach if you have any questions at all. So tonight we have an amazing topic and two amazing presenters. We have Stephani Whiting and Haley Trujillo, who are both certified OPTAVIA coaches. And they're going to be telling us a little bit about feeling the fat burn. So go ahead, I'm going to turn it over to these beautiful ladies. Take it away.
Thanks so much, Amber. This subject is near and dear to my heart. I love fat burn. And I remember when I learned about the program, just thinking, this is a little bit different. I had never really experienced or really knew much about fat burn. I knew that I was killing myself in the gym trying to burn fat, but it wasn't really working out so well for me. I was putting so much time and energy into getting to my healthy weight. And I thought that the way to get there was exercise as much as you possibly can and eat the least amount possible. So that's kind of what I was doing. And I was doing it about 6 days a week until I couldn't take it anymore. And on the 7th day, I would crash. And has anyone ever experienced that? You make brownies and all your goals go out the window. And so that's kind of this weird yo-yo diet loop I was in at the time. And not only was it not effective, but I actually think it was effective in putting on a little bit of weight every week. So I found myself just exercise, and then every week a little bit heavier. And it was so frustrating. And so learning about this concept of fat burn and finding this program were just such an amazing answer for me. And it's fun to meet like-minded people. So when I met Haley Trujillo, she had kind of a similar story. And Haley, I want you to tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. And I'm truly honored to be a part of this community and just share my story tonight. So I was introduced to OPTAVIA from a friend that had a very similar problem to mine. And that was that we both thought that exercise was the main and most important tool in attaining our dream bodies. And we worked tirelessly, 5 a.m. workouts, 2 to 3 hours every day, hitting the gym. But neither of us had our dream bodies through all of this. And really what that led me down this road of fatigue. I was battling the hungry monster. You know what that means if you work out too hard and try to be in a calorie deficit. And I had insomnia, and I was just super frustrated. So tonight I'm excited just to share about the OPTAVIA program and how it created the perfect nutritional footprint that became a really easy and simple solution to all of the struggles that I had. So what is fat burn? Protein levels are similar to a typical American meal plan. And our optimal 5-in-1 plan is specifically structured to put you in a state of mild ketosis called fat burn. Now, I had heard of ketosis, and many of you probably have as well, and it's popular in many diets today, and they utilize this process. But my interpretation of fat burn or ketosis was that you would deplete all your carbs, which my mom always says all joy and happiness goes out of your life. But in replacement, you can eat all the bacon and cheese that you want, right? So that was my interpretation of what this ketosis was. Well, thank goodness for our program that really fuels your body properly while creating a calorie deficit through a simple portion controlled system. And that calorie deficit creates a discrepancy in your body and in your body's need for energy. And so in the first 3 to 5 days on the OPTAVIA 5-in-1 plan, your body will use your limited amount of stored carbohydrates, so glycogen, which then signals the need to go looking for a new energy source. And fat burn is ignited as your body uses fat stores as fuel and energy. So your body will be working for you instead of against you. And this was really the key to a lot of things that I was looking for, because I needed that, and that energy that came in after those 3 to 5 days was like mind-blowing. Like fat burn was one of those things that started to create a solution to some of the struggles that I had. So in this controlled state of fat burn, your energy will naturally go up and your cravings and hunger go down. So on this next slide, why fat burn? You have those win-win situations that you have, cravings and hunger go down naturally and your energy will go up. So, and I also had worked really hard in the gym to build some lean muscle. And the wonderful thing about being in a state of fat burn is it ensures a safe and effective way of preserving that lean body mass while burning the fat. And my husband and a lot of male clients love this, and they call it kind of the program that helps them find their abs. It allows you to preserve that lean muscle and burn the fat. And the predictable transformation really ensures that when you stick to the plan, it's the easiest way to have consistent results. And I loved that I didn't have to wonder or question if it was going to work. I just listened to my coach and I trusted the process, because in the beginning, I was one of those over-exercisers that thought I knew everything. So in the process of going on the OPTAVIA 5-in-1, my coach really beat it into me that I need to just trust the process. And that's simply what I did.
Oh, I love that so much, Haley, because honestly, we are all second guessing ourselves all the time. And that's part of the reason that we never get anywhere. So when I started this plan and I was able to just trust my coach and trust the process, I started noticing some of those, I guess we call it symptoms. And the symptoms are that steady energy, those physical things that you could tell you're just feeling a little bit different and feeling really good. And then you're waking up every day and your pants are looser. So it's so cool. And this brings us to our next subject. How can I tell if I'm in fat burn? It generally takes 3 to 5 days to get into the fat burning state if you're on the 5-in-1 plan. People are a little bit different. Some people get in faster, some people get in slower. But the physical cues that will tell you you're generally in fat burn are you'll feel reduced hunger. A lot of people say on day 4, they really start to notice reduced hunger, more energy, and losing weight steadily. I remember waking up about a week into plan and thinking, I haven't had to take a nap for the past few days. Like, it was really cool. You'll start to just definitely notice those things that are different in your life. And moving on, some fat burning basics that are kind of cool is the optimal weight 5-in-1 plan is the only plan that incorporates the fat burning state. So it's important to note that there are people on different plans, and the 4-in-2 or the 4-2-2 or the nursing mothers plan, we have a lot of plans that reduce calories, but you're going to notice that fat burning on the 5-in-1. Here's some typical questions and answers we get. Will eating excess fat kick me out of fat burn? No, but your body will burn that easily accessible fat before your body fat. This can result in slow to no weight loss or possible weight gain. So I always think when I'm eating a little bit of extra fat, or if I'm thinking about eating extra fat, would I rather eat extra avocado or burn this amount off my body? It's kind of like a visual for me, and that really is an easy way to make a decision. To stay in fat burn, do I need to be 100% on plan? Yes. If you're not, you may still lose weight because you're reducing your calories, but it will be slower and you might experience more hunger. So that's something to just kind of keep in mind. We can move on to maximizing results. I think Haley's going to talk about just going over some things that, you know, tips and tricks that for people who have been through this. How do you want to get the best results? And go ahead, Haley.
Yeah, I think an important thing is to just take a closer look. So if you feel like your weight loss has slowed down or you're having a hard time getting into fat burn, it's probably a good idea to examine the basics. And I love this, like look at your program like a scientist with an objective approach and rate yourself to see where you can improve. I found that, you know, the 5-in-1 or the 5-in-1-ish, it seems like it's not that big of a deal, but it really comes down to the science of fat burn and how we get into that fat burn state. So look at labels, follow serving sizes. You know, there's always like the notorious Ready Whip, and everyone probably knows what I'm talking about, but I actually did measure it out the other day. 5 grams of Ready Whip is so much smaller than I thought it was. Okay, so just little things like that where you maybe are going over. Go back to measuring and weighing your lean and green meals. It's also a good idea to confine your choices to the leanest categories on protein and vegetables if you're feeling like your weight loss is slowed or you're having a hard time getting into fat burn. And check your condiments. Like I said, Ready Whip. There's so many condiments that maybe we see as a minimal amount, and it gets bigger and bigger, and that pile of Ready Whip is now 4 condiments that you just had on your brownie. So it can make a big difference. Also, on your fat serving size, you know, watching your dressing, 2 tablespoons, measuring those things out can make a difference. And then also water. Water is also a great way to reduce hunger and can really help with the process of fat burn and the 5-in-1. Again, with those things, being mindful and taking an objective approach, sometimes taking the emotion out of losing weight in this way and look at it as a scientist can help. And then, are you going in and out of fat burn? Are you in the 5-in-1 jail during the weekdays because you're going off plan on every weekend, and then you're back to like, I have to be perfect. It's Monday. I'm going to be perfect. And slowly that dwindles and you're going in and out. So consistency in fat burn will yield consistent results. And many of you know the book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, and are familiar with his 10,000 hours of dedicated practice allows a person to become an expert. And our goal is to build expert habits, because even when you reach a healthy weight, it's just the beginning of our journey. Right? We're creating habits. We're creating an environment for lasting change. So if you're finding that you're going in and out of fat burn, that's not really creating the foundation of a long-term healthy change. And but it takes time and it takes deliberate practice. But as you're consistent and your health improves, you'll find it becomes easier and easier to adopt these new habits of health and for long-term health. And really, I feel like fat burn is what ignites it. So that's the awesome part about fat burn, is it ignites this process of our journey to optimal health.
Haley, I love that so much. You know, some of these tips are just so good. I love this, are you going in and out of fat burn? Because I think for so many people, they give it their all for 5 or 6 days. And then they're really in a nice deep fat burn. They've gotten rid of those cravings. They're having that steady energy. And then, you know, on Sunday, they kind of revert back to some old habits. And then it's going to take a few more days to get back into fat burn again. And so building consistent habits and remembering on the weekends to be consistent. yields such better results. It's amazing. And I love that you say create the environment for lasting change. That is such a big deal because that's really what we're trying to do, and it's the bottom line. So I'm going to talk a little bit about trusting the process. This is kind of my favorite thing to talk about because I'm such a doubter. I don't know if any of you have had this experience where I actually have obesity really strong on both sides of my family. And so I started reading nutrition books and studying things when I was really young. And I knew so much that sometimes you know so much, these things are conflicts in your head. And it's so nice when you come to this program and you get that personal health coach who can help you get out of your own way, if you know what I mean. So the first thing is becoming process-driven versus results-driven. I learned about this from Kim Fisk, and she just had such a great video on it that I watched once, and I thought, that is so smart. Really, if we're focusing on the process, the results will come. But have you guys ever had that experience when you get on the scale and you have an expectation that you're going to lose a couple pounds, and maybe you lose 1, or maybe you lose a half, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, forget it. It's all out the door. That's really results driven. And so if you become process driven, you can remain curious. When you see that number on the scale, oh, I wonder why I'm only down a pound this week. Could it be that I didn't drink as much water as I thought I did? Maybe I didn't get as much sleep. So you commit to working the process harder. This is such an effective thing. Just whenever you can work the process harder, because you can't choose the number that the scale spits out, right? That's totally out of our control. We can control the process. Next is working the other 3 parts of the program. Sometimes we forget that we are participating in a 4-part health and wellness program. Checking in with our health coach each week, just having that accountability is so important. Sometimes we think we can go it alone and we forget that we really need somebody on our side. They are always there to give us great advice, and they're objective, right? They can remain objective. So, and then checking in with your community. Really being a cheerleader for others, I think, has helped me a lot on my way. Teaching people what you've learned and participating. If you eat a great lean and green, drop that in your client share page. And help other people. The education was huge for me. I knew so much that I couldn't apply, that when I got the Habits of Health book, I decided that I was going to read it like someone who knew nothing and start over. And it felt so great because it really is like a textbook for our health. And for people who aren't reading the book, I would just say this: how are you able to do what you need to do if you don't know what you're doing or why, right? So it's kind of like, read the book, find the why behind what it is you're doing, and it makes the doing of it so much easier. So I found that working the other 3 parts of the program are super, super helpful. Reprogramming that all or nothing thinking. Have you guys ever told yourself, I'm going to be 100% this week? And you maybe even have a buddy that's doing the program with you, and you guys fist bump and you're like, 100%, and then what happens is you may have an emotional moment and you throw a, little handful of chocolate chips in your mouth, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I can't be 100% anymore. So I'm just going to eat all the things that I wanted to eat all week long, just like hurry and eat them before I check back in with my friend. So reprogramming that all or nothing thinking is so important, because if you're focusing on a healthy lifestyle, you can't mess that up with a handful of chocolate chips. You can get right back on track if you're practicing a healthy lifestyle. If you're on a diet and you have to be 100% because you're in that all or nothing mentality, you just screwed up your 100% grade. And now it's like, who cares if I can't be an A+. So I love the reprogramming of the all or nothing thinking. Employing tools for old emotional eating habits. We have got some great Zooms by Nick Fry about emotional eating and habit loops. You guys, I have learned so much. For someone who knew everything, I have learned so much about my brain. And, we might know exactly what to do, But when a stressor comes into our life that we weren't expecting, it doesn't matter if we know everything. We need to know how to deal with that stress in a different way. Someone says, I love Nick Fry. I love him too. I haven't met him yet, but he has really helped me. And, you know, I even emailed him early on and said, I'm having a big problem with this. What would you recommend? And he emailed me back. Isn't that cool? I just love that we have someone that can help us with our behavior, because if we can work our most important muscle, our brain, we can find really true success. And then stop, challenge, choose. This was the first Zoom I ever watched, and it really changed my life. You guys, just knowing, Jared Smithson always tells, in Man's Search for Meaning, he always quotes this beautiful quote, and I'm not going to say it right, but he just says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And what we don't realize is sometimes in our world, we go straight from stimulus to response without thinking. We're stressed out, we eat something. And it was so neat to have someone teach me to create that space. And inside of that space is stop, challenge, choose. That's something that we can plug in. And so we can have a stressor and we can stop and say, is eating this candy bar going to help this go away? Or could I make a different choice? So I just feel like it's so empowering to create that space in our life where we have a choice and that we can plug in things that we've learned. So this is my favorite part of our plan. The choice is yours. So when I came to OPTAVIA, I had told myself a lot of stories. I don't know if any of you do that. Do you tell yourself like you're a foodie? Yep, thank you, Amber. I'm a foodie. This is harder for me than anybody else. It's easier for everybody than it is for me. I told myself the word should is so hard. I should be able to lose weight with all this exercise I'm doing. I told myself all these stories. And when I came to this program and I read these sentences, it really changed a lot for me. Okay, there is no cheating. I love this. There's no cheating science. There is simply fat burn and not fat burn. And by that, what I mean is, if you're faced with a choice, let's say you go to a birthday party and they're having birthday cake, okay? You can look at that birthday cake objectively and suddenly there's a choice. Yes, I can have the birthday cake, but it will take me about 3 days to get back into fat burn. Or I can choose not to eat the birthday cake and I can stay in fat burn, not have to go through those whole 3 days of transitioning, and I can maybe lose a couple pounds this week. Who knows what may happen if I make the choice to stay on plan. And so I love it because I used to use the word cheat a lot. So there's no cheating science. There's simply fat burn and not fat burn. And I tell my clients this a lot. The choice is always yours. You don't get to choose the consequence, right? The consequence is not yours to choose. How fast do you want to get to your target weight? So this is another question. A lot of clients will say, okay, so I've got a cruise coming up next month, and I know that I want to be on plan for about 6 months. I have about 60 pounds to lose. What should I do? Now, the answer is always the choice is yours. Do you want to stay in fat burn? And do you want to get to your weight faster? Or do you want to come in and out of fat burn and have it take longer? There's no right or wrong answer. I've seen clients go in and out and make decisions to go on vacation and eat everything, eat all the foods, and then come back and get back in. I've had people stay very, very compliant and get to their healthy weight faster, and then form new healthy habits that they really can maintain that weight. They're plugging into the program. So the choice is always yours. It takes some of the emotion out of it. And I love taking emotion out of weight loss, because don't we feel like it can be overly emotional sometimes? I have to do this. Why did I start this plan? Now I have to just stick to it. I can't even go to a birthday party anymore. So all of a sudden it's like, no, you can eat whatever you want. Okay. You can eat birthday cake and you can eat extra fats. It's just that it might make the process take a little bit longer. Okay. So really the last thing is, how willing are you to stay on plan in order to achieve your goal? This is so empowering, you guys. We get to decide. We get to decide how compliant we are. We get to decide how much water we drink. We get to decide how much sleep we get. We get to decide what we eat for our lean and greens. We get to decide if we're going to eat all of our fuelings. We always get to make those choices in order to achieve our goals. And I think this just puts us in the driver's seat of our life. And we can stop. Have you guys ever seen that stop shoulding all over yourself? The word should. I love that because we just get to make that decision on our own. And sometimes I tell people, sometimes it's fun to just get it done. Like get in fat burn, stay in fat burn, and just get it done. Get to your healthy weight. It's really, really enjoyable to do that because you're not riding a roller coaster. But other times people find that they can make a different decision and take a little bit longer, and that feels great to them. So my advice to you now would be, if you feel something coming up and you're a little bit worried about it, reach out to your health coach and ask for a little session with them to try to work your way through what you want to do. Because you might find that you think you want to be 100%, but your heart's telling you something else. And your coach can help you work through that and decide. But it's always nice to get another opinion on that. And so thank you so much. Amber, I would love to hear your thoughts. You got a little bit of experience with this. And I just appreciate, I've learned so much from Amber, and I appreciate everything that she's taught me.
Thanks, Steph. I think that those were such great tips. And when you're boiling it down to the lowest common denominator, it's who is in charge. I think so many times we give that control to the OPTAVIA guide or to our coach, or somebody is making us do this, or oh, I wish I could eat that. But what I'm hearing from you say, Steph, is that we are in charge. We are not a victim of a eating plan. We have that choice. And when you take that ownership of what you are doing, when you take ownership of your eating, your water, of your movement, of your mindset, you take ownership of that, all of a sudden, not as hard. All of a sudden, you don't have those excuses to fall back on. You just have to say, like, I loved how you just laid that out. You are a scientist. Put it in an objective format. And if you are emotional about it, stop. Take some deep breaths. Connect back to what you really want, what you really wanted at a base level when you started this program. Because sometimes when we get all emotional and everything's all going crazy, it's easy to forget what we really want. So I think that this is just really helpful to remind us and to remember that when we're in fat burn, you're actually like making a little cocoon of support around you. Because when those cravings are lower, when the hunger is lower, when your energy is higher, guess what? You are more prone to make good decisions, to make good choices. So really kind of riding that fat burn wave, it's so smart. And the more that you make good choices, the easier it is to make good choices. It just sounds so base level, but it's true. Just get in that fat burn, stay in that fat burn, ride that fat burn. So I love that stuff. Haley, do you have anything else you want to add in our last minute?
No, I just love that. I think it's a process, and, don't get too overwhelmed. Just go back to the basics and the simplicity of what it is. Overthinking, I think, can be the enemy here, and just really, it's a process. And with becoming an expert in health, we have to have practice and experience, and sometimes you make mistakes. And I think that's part of the growth and part of the learning that comes with it. And I love the thoughts tonight. Thank you.
Thanks so much, ladies.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some OPTAVIA coaches or clients of OPTAVIA. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. Yours in health, the OPTAVIA team.